the passenger on Route 66. It happened in Arizona, on the old stretch of Route 66 between Seligman and Kingman, in late October 2019, around 2 in the morning. I was driving alone, hauling empty trailers back west after a long week. The sky was moonless, the desert was black, the radio was off because the signal kept dying, and the only light was from my truck cutting a yellow tunnel through the highway. I had been on the road since Flagstaff, and I remember thinking that I should pull over at the next truck stop, because the night felt too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you listen for something. About 15 minutes after I passed the last gas station, I saw her. She was standing on the right side of the road, right at the white line, like she had been waiting exactly for me. Young woman, maybe 20, slender, long dark hair, wearing a light jacket that was too thin for the cold, jeans, and holding something pressed to her chest. At first I thought it was a bag, but when my lights hit it, I saw it was a framed photograph. No suitcase, no backpack, no car with hazard lights, nothing. Just a woman in the middle of nowhere at 2 a.m. I slowed down without even thinking. You do not leave people on that road. Coyotes, cold, no traffic. When I pulled over and stopped, she was already walking toward the passenger side, like she was sure I would give her a ride. I leaned over and opened the door. "Where are you headed?" I asked. "Home," she said quietly. Her voice was soft, like she had been crying earlier but was calm now. "It's a white house on Miller Road. Before town. My dad is waiting." Her clothes were dry. Her hair was dry. But when she climbed in, the smell of wet asphalt and rain came in with her. It had not rained there that night. She sat down slowly, holding that photo tight. I glanced at it at a red light in town later, but in the truck I only saw that it was an old picture of a family. She kept it turned toward herself. "You picked a bad night to walk," I said, trying to sound normal. "No cars out here." "I know," she said. "Thank you for stopping. People don't stop anymore." Her eyes were fixed straight ahead. Not on me, not on the truck, just on the road, like she knew it by heart. That was the first thing that bothered me. The second thing was that she never asked who I was, where I was going, or even if I was dangerous. People who hitchhike at night ask things. She did not. I checked the dashboard clock. 2:14 a.m. "How far is your place?" I asked. "Not far. Just stay on this road," she said. "Don't take the interstate. Stay on the old road." That was the third thing that bothered me. How did she know I was thinking about taking the interstate to make up time? We rode in silence. The desert slid by dark and empty, the way it always does at that hour. I tried the radio once just to break the silence, but the speakers only gave a low hiss. She did not react. Her hands were pale around the frame. I could see now that the photo was old, the glass slightly scratched. After a few minutes I said, "I'm Mark, by the way." She paused like she had to remember how to answer that. "I'm Anna," she said. Her voice sounded a little farther away now. I asked, "What were you doing out there?" "My car broke down," she said. "Where?" She did not answer that. She just said, "I had to get home. Dad worries. He waits by the window." That last sentence, the way she said it, felt like she had said it 1,000 times. We drove another 10 minutes. Then she pointed ahead. "Turn right there," she said. "White house with a big tree. Porch light is always on." I could see houses now, low and old, the kind you get on the edge of desert towns. Dogs barked somewhere far off. A porch light really was on, yellow and steady, like someone was up late. I pulled into the dirt in front of the house. It was exactly like she described it. White paint, a big cottonwood, porch light glowing, an old pickup in the driveway. A lived-in house. Not abandoned. Not boarded up. She was right. "Thank you," she said. "No problem," I said. "You want me to wait till you get in?" She nodded. But she did not move right away. She looked down at the photo, then at the house, like she was building up the courage to step out. Then she opened the door and climbed down slow. When she closed the door, that smell of wet road left with her. The cab felt warmer. I watched her walk toward the porch. She did not look back. She walked steady, holding the photo with both hands. She stepped onto the wooden porch and stopped right in front of the door. Then the porch light turned off. I thought maybe someone inside had seen her and switched it off. A second later, the light came back on. No door opened. No silhouette. No voice calling her name. She was not on the porch anymore. I blinked, leaned forward, trying to see better through the windshield. The porch was empty. The yard was empty. The door was closed. She had vanished between the light going off and on again. I waited another minute, then two. Nothing. I felt a cold pressure behind my neck, that feeling you get when you know something is wrong but your brain is behind your eyes trying to catch up. I killed the engine, climbed down, and walked to the house. Gravel crunched under my boots. The air was colder than it should have been. I knocked. After a moment, the porch light flicked again and the door opened a crack. An older man stood there, maybe late 60s, gray hair, wearing a shirt and jeans like he had been awake. He looked at me like I had woken him, but not like I was a stranger. More like he was used to people coming. "Evening, sir," I said. "I just dropped off a young woman. Said this was her house. Anna." His eyes changed. Not surprised. Sad. "You gave her a ride?" he asked quietly. "Yeah. Picked her up on 66. She said her car broke down." He opened the door wider then, and I could see into the living room. On the wall, above a small table with flowers, there were photos. Family photos. On the table itself stood a framed picture under glass. It was the same picture she had held in my truck. Same house. Same man. Same girl, younger, smiling. He followed my eyes. "That's my daughter," he said. "She died on Route 66. October 27, 2009. Car flipped in the rain. Nobody stopped for her." My mouth went dry. "I saw her," I said. "She was right here." He nodded slowly, like that matched what he already knew. "Every few years someone brings her home," he said. "They say the road was wet. But it's never raining." I looked down at my hands because they were shaking. When I looked back up, he was holding something out to me. It was the framed photo. The glass was wet, like from fresh rain, even though the porch and yard were dry. "She always leaves this in the truck," he said. "You can put it on the table." I did. My fingers were cold from the frame. Inside the photo she was alive, arm around her father, standing right on that porch with the same light behind them. I did not sleep that morning. I got back in the truck and pulled away slow, watching the house in the mirrors. The porch light stayed on. A figure stood by the window for a moment. Could have been him. Could have been her. I do not pick up hitchhikers anymore on that stretch. But every year when I drive through around late October, the air in the cab smells like wet asphalt again. And I check the passenger seat without meaning to. Voices on the CB radio. It happened in Nebraska, on Highway 83 between North Platte and Thedford, in January 2021, during one of those long, empty winter runs when the plains are just black fields and wind. It was around 3:30 in the morning, temperature well below freezing, no towns for miles, no cars behind me, no cars ahead. I was hauling light, so the truck felt a bit too fast on the hard, cold asphalt. Snow wasn't falling, but the ditches were full of old snow and the sky was that low winter gray that eats the sound. I was alone. I remember that very clearly. I had checked the mirrors 3 times before it started. Nobody was there. I kept the CB on channel 19 like always, even though lately there was almost no one to talk to at that hour. Just static and sometimes weather reports. I had music off because I was getting sleepy and I wanted to listen to the road. The heater was on low and the cab smelled like coffee from a truck stop in North Platte. Everything was normal. Then the radio crackled. Not like regular static. It was a slow building hiss, like someone slowly turned a dial from silent to loud. Then a voice came through. Male. Calm. Too calm for 3:30 a.m. Tom, the voice said. My name is Tom. I froze with my hands on the wheel. I looked at the CB. The green light was on, signal bar jumping a little. Someone was keyed in. I pressed the button. Breaker 19, who's calling? I said. You got Tom. Where you at? Silence. Just the faint wind sound over the line. I waited 10 seconds. 15. Then the same voice, same tone, same speed, like it was replaying itself. Tom. This time there was a dragging sound under the word, like the mic was damaged or being held too close to cloth. Yeah, this is Tom, I said again, a little annoyed. Identify, driver. No answer. I checked my mirrors again. Still no headlights behind me. I checked my GPS. Still miles of nothing. I checked the CB boundaries. The signal shouldn't have reached that strong if there was no one in range. All right, real funny, I said. You pranking on 19? After that, the radio went completely quiet. I drove another mile. 2. The road was straight, flat, almost hypnotic. I tried to convince myself it was skip or bleed from somewhere else. Then, right as I reached mile marker 74, the voice came back, louder. Tom. Mile 74. Don't keep going. I almost swerved. I had not said where I was. I had not called a location. Nobody had passed me to see my truck. It was pitch black all around. Who is this? I said, now angry because fear makes you angry first. Where are you? This time, the voice changed a little. I heard breathing, like someone was close to the mic. Then, this is Jack. You coming north? I stopped breathing for a second. I knew a Jack. Every driver on that line knew a Jack, because he used to run the same Nebraska route for years. He had died in a truck fire outside Thedford 2 winters before. Everybody had talked about it. Electrical short, cab burned fast, he never got out. Jack who? I asked, but my voice was already lower. Jack from the coupe, the voice said, like of course I knew. You missed me at the station. The coupe was the tiny fuel stop back down in North Platte. The one with the bad coffee and the old lady at the counter. Jack always fueled there. I knew that. We all knew that. But Jack had been dead 2 years. My mouth went dry. This isn't funny, I said. Jack's gone. Silence. Then, quiet. Yeah. I know. I felt the temperature drop in the cab. Not in the whole truck, just around the radio. The plastic of the CB felt colder, like I had an ice pack behind the dash. I let off the gas a bit. The road ahead was still empty. Then the voice spoke again, and this time it did not sound like it was talking to me. It sounded like it was talking to someone else who was not there. Road slick. Snow drift at the bridge. You're coming too fast. Slow it down, Tom. I looked ahead. I knew there was a small bridge in about 5 miles, over a frozen creek. It never gave me problems. That night, the highway report hadn't said anything about drifts. But now I could see, far up in my headlights, the wind blowing light snow across the road. I pressed the mic. How do you know where I am? I said. You got eyes on me? Nothing. Where are you, Jack? I asked. What rig you in? The answer came in pieces, broken by static, like the signal was going through water. Still, on 83, still burning, thought I'd catch you. I felt my stomach twist. I slowed down to 45 just in case. Better to look stupid than to roll. When I reached the bridge, I saw it. A line of snow had blown across the road and frozen, a slick diagonal stripe. If I had been doing 65 like before, and if I had been tired, I could have slid sideways with the trailer and maybe gone into the ditch. Not guaranteed, but possible. It was a real hazard. Not invented. Not some ghost trick. I crossed slow, both hands tight on the wheel. On the other side, the CB hissed again. "Good," the voice said. "You made it this time." "This time?" I said. "What do you mean this time?" But it did not answer. Instead, the sound on the channel changed. I began to hear two things at once, the man's voice, low and calm, and under it another sound, crackling, like a fire. The sound of things popping and melting. And through it, breathing. "Tom," the voice said again, softer now. "Don't stop at the gravel lot. Don't stop. Keep going." That made me look up quick. There's a gravel pull-off about 11 miles north of that bridge. I have used it before to pee or to check straps. No cameras, no lights, no houses, just a flood of stars over an empty lot. It is the kind of place where if someone bad pulls in behind you, no one will ever know. The fact that the voice singled out that place made my legs cold. I said nothing. I just kept driving. The radio went silent for a full minute. Then, suddenly, far away, faint, like from a tunnel, I heard my own voice. "Breaker 19, who's calling?" "You got Tom." "Where you at?" It was me. It was my exact words from 5 minutes before. The radio was playing them back, but I had not recorded anything. I stared at the speaker. The green light flickered exactly the same way it had earlier. Then, after the recording of me, came the recording of him. "Tom." Then my voice again, "Identify, driver." Then his voice, "Tom. Mile 74. Don't keep going." The CB was looping our conversation. But it was not a perfect loop. In the background of the second playback, I could hear the fire crackle louder. And I could hear him cough. I was done. I reached over and switched the CB off. The cab went dead quiet. Only the engine, the tires, the winter wind. But after 10 seconds, the speaker popped back on by itself. No green light. No power indicator. Just a voice, coming through a dead radio. "Don't stop at the lot," it said again, urgently now. "He's waiting." I did not stop. I drove past the gravel turnoff doing 60. As my lights hit the entrance, I saw fresh tracks in the snow, a wide arc like a pickup or SUV had pulled in not long before. No truck in sight. No lights. Just the sign of someone there. I drove all the way to Thetford and parked at the lit truck stop by the highway. Inside, at the counter, I asked the woman working nights, "Hey, you remember a driver named Jack, burned in a cab fire a while back?" She looked up. "Yeah," she said. "That was awful. He was on the radio the whole time. They said the radio picked up him calling for a Tom that never came." I stared at her. "When was that?" I asked. "January 27th, 2019, she said. 2 years ago today." I went back to the truck shaking. I turned the CB back on. It worked fine. Normal static, normal channels, normal range. No voice. No fire. No recordings. Before I went to sleep in the cab, I looked out toward the highway. A pickup drove past. It slowed a little near the direction of the gravel lot, like it was checking for someone. Then it sped up. I still run that route sometimes. I never stop at that lot now. And every January, around 3 or 4 a.m. On 83, I leave the CB on, even if I tell myself I won't. I listen for that drag in the voice, that burnt breath sound. Because I know now he was not just calling me. He was calling whoever was on that road. He died calling for help that never came, so now he warns drivers on the same night, at the same mile, on the same frequency. And I think if I had turned the radio off the first time, if I had ignored him, if I had pulled into that dark lot to rest, I would have met whoever was waiting. The end. The rest stop with no lights. It happened in Kansas, on US 400 between Parsons and Wichita, in March 2022, during a stormy night when the wind was pushing the trailer hard from the side. It was about 1:40 a.m. when I decided to pull over. I had been driving since Joplin, rain was starting to come down in waves, and the weather app said the line of storms would pass in an hour. There was an old highway rest stop I had used before on that stretch. Nothing fancy, just 2 picnic tables, a brick restroom building, vending machines, and a big sodium light on a pole that was always on. That light was the reason I used it. You can see who pulls in. That night it was dark. When I turned off the highway onto the little loop, I noticed it right away. No yard light. No building light. No soft yellow glow. Just black. The only light was what my truck was throwing forward. Rain hammered the windshield and I could hear branches scraping the roof of the sleeper. I thought the power just went out because of the storm. Happens. I parked the rig along the curb, nose pointed toward the exit so I could leave if someone weird pulled in. Habit. I killed the wipers and sat there listening to the rain pounding the cab. The engine ticked. Behind the noise I could hear something else, a low whistling whine through the restroom vents. The place looked wrong in the dark. You never realize how much you depend on one cheap light bulb until it is gone. I needed the restroom. It was going to be a long haul to Wichita after the line moved. I grabbed my flashlight, put on my cap, and stepped out. The rain was cold, needles on the face. My boots splashed in standing water. I walked toward the restroom building. The closer I got, the more I felt that I did not want to go inside. Not because of people. Because of the way the dark sat in the doorway, like water in a well. The men's side door was propped open just a little, swinging in the wind, knocking lightly. Tap. 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 I shined the flashlight inside. No light. No buzzing bathroom fluorescent. Just white tile, wet from tracked-in rain, and that echo you get in empty concrete rooms. I called out. Anybody in here? My voice bounced back to me, thin and hollow. No answer. I stepped inside. The smell was wrong. Not the usual rest stop smell. Damp, old, like a basement that had not been opened in months. My light cut across the mirrors. For a second I saw myself, wet cap, jacket, then the beam moved on. The stalls were all open except the last one. The door was closed. It was the kind that didn't lock quite right, a little crooked. Water was dripping somewhere in the back. I went to the urinal, got it done fast, and the whole time I was listening. I could hear the wind outside, the rain, the hum of my truck engine out in the lot. And I could hear, very faintly, something like shoes on wet tile. Not moving toward me. Just shifting weight. I zipped, turned, and shined the light at the last stall. Hello? I said. Maintenance? Nothing. I walked closer. My boots squeaked. I put my hand on the stall door and pushed it open. Empty. But the toilet seat was wet like someone had just used it. And on the little metal paper holder someone had set down a pair of sunglasses. Women's, old, with a gold frame. On a storm night, at 1:40 a.m., in a dark bathroom, in March. No car in the lot except mine. I took a step back. As I did, every sink faucet turned on for a split second. Not a drip. Full blast. Water rushed, then all at once, they shut off. My flashlight flickered but did not die. I said out loud, nope. I walked out into the rain. Outside, I looked around the lot. My truck was where I left it. But there was another vehicle now. A dark sedan had pulled in without headlights. It was parked at the far end, nose toward the building, like the driver wanted to watch without being seen. No interior light, no movement. Just sitting there, rain running down the windshield. I did not like that. I walked back to my rig, got in, locked the doors, and kept the flashlight in my lap. I watched the sedan in the mirrors. It did not move. I thought about leaving right then, even if the storm was still heavy. But I had this crawl on the back of my neck about the bathroom. Something had been in there. After a minute, curiosity got me. I took my phone, pulled up the Kansas DOT site to see if there was a power outage along US 400. There was a note, updated that day, about rest area 17-mile marker 221 temporarily closed for maintenance. Water service intermittent. But that was not the weird part. At the bottom, in small text, was a memorial note, in memory of Linda Carver, KDOT employee, 1964 to 2019, who sustained injuries during overnight facility checks at this location. 2019. I looked at the time. 1:48 a.m. The sedan's driver door opened. A man stepped out in a raincoat with the hood up. He did not run through the rain. He just stood there for a second, looking at my truck, then at the restroom. Then he started walking toward the building. I watched him reach the door, the same door I had walked through. He went inside without turning on a light, like he expected it to be dark. I do not know why I did it, but I grabbed the flashlight again and got out. Maybe I thought he was a DOT guy and I wanted to tell him the faucets were acting up. Maybe I did not want to sit alone in the dark truck wondering. "Hey," I called over the rain. "You with KDOT?" No answer. He had already gone in. I followed, slower this time. The door was swinging again. I stepped in and shined the light. The bathroom was empty. No man. No wet footprints. The sunglasses were gone. I spun around, thinking he had stepped into the stalls. Nothing. I pushed every door. Empty. I even checked behind the trash can. No one. Then, from the far end of the building, from the women's side, I heard a voice. A woman's voice. Tired. Irritated. "Who's in here?" It was not a young voice. It was older, full, the voice of someone who had worked nights too long. I recognized it, in a way. The same tone that woman at the DOT uses when she has to tell truckers to stop dumping garbage in the sinks. I called back, "Sorry, ma'am. I thought the building was closed. Lights are out." Long pause. Then, "Lights have been out since I fell. Doors supposed to be locked." That made my scalp go tight. I walked to the women's side. The door was chained from the inside. I could not open it. I shined the light through the crack. I saw a bucket, a mop, a yellow wet floor sign on its side, and on the far wall, by the sink, a faded photo in a plastic sleeve, taped up crooked. I could not make out the face from that angle, but I knew what it was. Memorial photo. I said, "Ma'am, do you need help?" No answer. Only water dripping. Only wind. I backed away. I decided I was done. I jogged through the rain back to my truck, fired it up, and pulled out of that rest stop without doing the usual walk around. As I turned back onto US 400, I glanced in the mirror. The sedan was still there. But it was not a modern sedan now. In the mirror, for half a second, illuminated by my taillights, it looked older, like a late 90s dark green Taurus with a broken headlight. Then the rain wiped it away. I drove 20 miles west and stopped at a truck plaza that was lit like a football field. I went inside, got coffee, and asked the clerk, "That rest stop back east, mile 221. Lights out. You know about that?" She looked up like she had heard that question before. "Yeah," she said. "They keep trying to fix it. Sometimes the power trips around 2 in the morning. Ever since that lady died there. Fell in the bathroom. No one found her till 5. "What year?" I asked. 2019, she said. "March. Storm night. She was doing checks. They think she slipped. Some trucker said he heard a woman in there, but no one else was on the lot. When I got back to my truck, I looked at the passenger seat. On the seat, still wet from rain, lay the same pair of women's sunglasses I had seen on the paper holder. The end. Mile marker 117. It happened in Texas, on Highway 287 between Wichita Falls and Vernon, in August 2020, just after midnight. I was running north with a refrigerated trailer, light load, dry night, heat still coming off the asphalt even though the sun had set hours ago. That stretch is straight and lonely, fields on both sides, no towns for long gaps. I had run it enough times to know the routine warnings from other drivers. Watch 117. Slow at 117. I always thought it was about deer or patrol. That night I found out it wasn't. It was 12:11 a.m. when I passed mile marker 110. I remember because I checked the dash clock and did quick math on arrival. No wind, stars out, road was clean. I was doing about 63 in a 70, just cruising, since I was ahead of schedule. CB was on but quiet. Nobody behind me, nobody ahead. Headlights were the only light on the highway. At 12:17 a.m., the CB crackled. Southbound, slow it up at 117, a man's voice said. Clear, flat, like he'd said it 1,000 times. I glanced at the radio. I was northbound, not southbound, but I still answered. Copy. You got northbound too. Problem at 117? No answer. I looked in the mirror. Still no one. Maybe a mile later, the voice came again, same tone, same words. Southbound, slow it up at 117. Lights on, please. Radio check, I said. You got northbound 287, 17 miles south of Vernon. You calling wreck? Silence. Then, quieter, like the mic was not right at his mouth. Don't make them come out again. That made the hair on my arms stand up. I rolled off the throttle. No reason to rush. The road ahead looked normal. My high beams showed nothing in the lane. No debris. No animals. Then I saw him. Right at the right shoulder, just before the reflective green sign that said 117, stood a man in a reflective vest and hard hat, like highway maintenance. He had a flashlight in his hand, beam down, and he was facing traffic, arm raised in that slow down motion. He was not waving wild. It was practiced. Controlled. Like he had done endless night traffic stops. The vest caught my headlights and flared bright yellow. I slowed to 45. He kept motioning. As I got closer, I saw details. White man, maybe late 30s or early 40s, clean-shaven, boots, dark work pants, state-style vest, helmet a bit scuffed. He was looking straight at me, not angry, not panicked. Just focused. I rolled the window down a little. You got a lane closure up ahead? I called from the cab as I passed. He did not answer. He just kept making the slow down motion and then pointed ahead with two fingers, the way cops do. I checked ahead. Nothing. No cones. No flares. No trucks with arrow boards. No wreckers. Just blacktop, shimmering from the day's heat. I checked the mirror to see him behind me. He was not there. Completely gone. I checked the shoulder. Empty. I hit the brakes a bit harder, truck now at 35, hazard flashers on. I got on the CB. Any unit working 117 northbound 287? I just had a flagger on the shoulder, disappeared. You got a crew? This time, a different driver answered. Older voice. Negative on crew, driver. 117's been clear all night. I said, I just saw a man in a vest. Right at the marker. Long pause. Then the older driver said, lower, yeah. You saw him. I felt cold even though it was still Texas hot. What is it? I asked. He was hit right there, the driver said. Road work, 2012 or 2013. Night shift. Got clipped by a trucker not paying attention, drifting to the shoulder. Didn't stop. They say he still flags. That's a story, man, I said, half joking, half not. Wasn't a story to DOT, the voice said. They still tell you to slow at 117. Some of us listen. My headlights finally reached the exact spot. That was when I saw why he had slowed me down. A pickup truck, dark-colored, with no lights on, was halfway on the shoulder, halfway in my lane, driver's door open toward the road. No cones. No flashers. Nothing. Just sitting there, practically invisible. If I had been doing 65 and tired, I would have clipped the open door for sure. Maybe worse. Maybe swerved into the ditch. I eased around it, giving it wide berth. I slowed to 20 and looked over. No one was in the driver's seat. No one around. Door swung a little in the night air. I got back on the CB. All right, confirmed hazard at 117, I said. Pick up in the lane, no lights. Watch yourselves. I expected someone to answer, to thank me, to say they were coming back to help. Instead, the original voice came again, same exact phrasing, no variation. Southbound, slow it up at 117. Lights on, please. This time I realized something. He was not using call signs. He was not saying his unit. He was not saying work crew. He was repeating a warning. I reached over and turned the radio down a notch. I drove on, pulse still high. After about 3 miles, when I was sure I was clear, I pulled over at a wide gravel entrance to an oil field road to call it in for real. I gave the location, the hazard, the mile marker. The dispatcher on the non-emergency line said, "Thank you, sir. We already have one report." "How long ago?" I asked. 4 or 5 minutes, she said. Caller said there was a person flagging traffic and then no one was there. I swallowed. "Yeah," I said. "I saw him too." After I hung up, I sat there in the dark truck cab, engine idling, flashers still ticking. The highway was a thin river of light out there. Then, from the radio speaker, even though I had turned the volume almost all the way down, the voice came through strong, like it was in the cab. "Don't make them come out again." I turned and looked at the passenger seat. Empty. I checked the back. Empty. But the air smelled like hot asphalt and those reflective vests smell, that plastic, sun-baked smell. I put the truck back in gear and rolled out. The next day, around noon, I stopped at a diner in Vernon where a lot of local road guys eat. I asked the waitress, "Y'all had a road worker killed on 287 a while back? At 117? She nodded right away. "Yep," she said. "My uncle was on that crew. Young guy. Hit in the night. Driver never stopped. State troopers looked for him days." "What year?" I asked. 2012, she said. "August. Real hot night." I checked the date on my phone. It was August 14th, 2020. I asked, "He used a radio?" "Yeah," she said. "He loved that thing. Sat in the truck and talked to drivers all night. Kept telling them to slow. My uncle said he would not let it go. Even when the shift was over." That evening, heading back the other way, southbound this time, I reached 117 again. I slowed to 45 just out of respect. There was no pickup now. Shoulder was clear. But in the tall grass, right where I had seen him, the reflector on the little white post flashed back red in my headlights in a way that for a second looked like a raised hand. On the CB, faint, under regular chatter, I heard it one more time. "Southbound, slow it up at 117. Lights on." I slowed. The end. The frozen truck. It happened in North Dakota, on Highway 2 between Rugby and Minot, in January 2023, during the cold snap when the wind chill was below -30. It was around 4:10 a.m., still dark, the kind of dark that comes with deep cold, when sound is sharp and every light looks farther away. I was hauling an empty flatbed back west after a delivery, watching the temp drop on the dash. The heater was on full and still could not keep the cab warm. The road was open but drifting in places, and the DOT radio had said to avoid unnecessary stopping. That night I stopped anyway. I first saw the truck about 8 miles east of mine at AFB. Long straight stretch, open fields, snow fences, nothing else. My headlights picked up a shape on the right shoulder. At first I thought it was a snowbank made by the plow, because it was white from top to bottom. Then the beams caught chrome and windows and I realized it was a tractor with a box trailer, but the tractor was covered in frost, thick, like it had been sprayed and then frozen solid. No hazard lights. No exhaust. No tracks in the shoulder snow except the ones leading straight to where it sat. I slowed down. You do that up there. You check. At those temperatures, you leave nobody. As I eased alongside, I saw that the whole front of the truck was glazed in rime ice, not just the usual frost. Mirrors, windshield edges, grille, even the mud flaps had a frozen crust on them. The windshield was clear in the middle, like it had been warm at some point, but around the edges it had a white frame. The side windows had that feathery frost you get when someone breathes inside a closed cab in sub-zero air. I pulled ahead, set my hazards, and stopped about 30 yards in front of him so my lights would spill back over his rig. I checked the outside temp again, -27. Wind north to south. Visibility fair. I grabbed my big winter coat, hat, and a flashlight and climbed down. The cold hit like a slap. My breath froze on my collar. Snow under my boots made that dry squeak sound. I walked back. As I got closer, my flashlight beam showed the company name on the door. I recognized it. Regional Carrier out of Bismarck. I had seen that truck at the truck stop in Devil's Lake the evening before. Same color, same unit number. I remembered the driver too, big guy with a brown beard, joking with the waitress about the weather. I knocked on the driver's side door. No answer. I cupped my hands and looked in. He was there. Sitting in the driver's seat, straight, belt on, hands down on his thighs. Eyes open. Frost on his eyebrows and beard. His skin was pale blue around the mouth. He looked exactly like a man who had fallen asleep at the wheel and frozen in his own cab. I swore and moved fast. I yanked on the door handle. The door did not open. It was frozen shut. Ice had built up all along the frame. I pulled again, harder. Nothing. I went around to the passenger side. Same thing. Thick ice all around the seal, like someone had sprayed it with water and let it flash freeze. I banged on the glass. Hey! You hear me? He did not blink. He did not move. His eyes were fixed slightly past me, like he was looking at the road. I ran back to my truck, grabbed the small propane heater hose I keep in the crowbar, thinking I could at least chip some of the ice to get air in. While I was in my cab I hit 911 and gave the dispatcher the exact mile marker and direction. Driver non-responsive, appears frozen, in cab, doors iced shut, I said, teeth already chattering even inside the warm truck. Emergency services en route, the woman said. Road conditions may delay. Can you remain on scene? Yes, I said. But he's been in there a while. I went back out. As I walked up again, something odd hit me. There were no footprints around his truck. None. The snow on the shoulder, the powder from the plow, was smooth, except for the perfect tracks of his tires coming off the lane. No walking to the back. No checking the trailer. No P-stop. Nothing. It was like he had pulled over, put it in park, and never got out. I chipped at the ice on the passenger door with the crowbar, little shards of it flying in the cold air. The truck metal underneath was so cold it burned. I worked at the corner until I could pry the seal just a little. I put my face near the gap. The air that came out was colder than the air outside. That was not possible. Inside a sealed cab, with a human body, with any residual engine heat, even at -27, the inside air is never colder than the outside. But this was like opening a freezer. I looked in again. Now I could see more of the cab. His logbook on the seat. A thermos. CB mic hanging. On the passenger seat lay his gloves. Off. Bare hands on his thighs. No sign he had tried to put them on. I shouted again. Wake up. Hey. Nothing. Then, behind me, in the dark field, I heard a voice. You leave him. I spun around, flashlight out over the field. Nothing but snow ripples and the black line of a fence in the distance. I turned back to the truck. The driver's eyes were now on me. I know what I saw. A second earlier he had been gazing past me. Now his pupils were turned right at my face. Slow. Heavy. Like someone moving through water. I took a step back. Can you hear me? I said, louder than before. His mouth opened. But no sound came out. A puff of white fog came, like breath in freezing air, and drifted downward, not up. I heard the voice again, clearer, but it was not from the field. It was right beside me, low, like someone standing by the steps of the frozen truck talking up to the window. You leave him. He is mine. You were not out here. I whipped the light down. No one was there. Just blowing snow. My brain said wind. My skin said no. I backed up slowly, keeping the light on the driver. His mouth stayed open. The fog coming from him did not stop. It was like he was exhaling forever. I got back in my own truck and cranked the engine to high idle. I did not like the feel of the air out there. It was heavy, old. I turned all my lights on, high beams, work lights, everything, so the emergency crew could see me. It took them 25 minutes to get there. Sheriff's SUV, then a local volunteer fire rig. I watched them pull up in the mirror. The sheriff got out, pulled his hat down, and walked to the frozen truck. I got out again to meet him. He's in there, I said. He was looking at me. Doors are frozen. The sheriff looked at me like he was measuring whether I was panicking. Dispatch said possible exposure fatality, he said. You said he was looking at you? He turned his eyes, I said. He opened his mouth. The sheriff nodded slowly, but not like he believed me. He went to the driver's side door, tried it, saw it was frozen, then signaled the fire guy. They started chipping ice, faster than I had, with better tools. When they finally got the door open, a sheet of white vapor rolled out of the cab, like opening a cold storage unit. The sheriff recoiled. Jesus, he said. That's colder than out here. He climbed up, leaned in, then turned his head back toward me. He's gone, he said. The EMS arrived a minute later. They checked anyway. No pulse, no respiration. Skin like ice. They started talking time of death. I said, he just looked at me. 10 minutes ago. The EMS guy glanced at the sheriff. The sheriff looked at me again, this time softer. Cold'll do strange things to the eyes, he said. Freeze them open. I wanted to argue, but I didn't. They pulled him out carefully, laid him on the stretcher, covered his face. His beard was still frosted. His hands were bare and red. I saw the name patch on his jacket now, Ray. I remembered. That was the name the waitress used in Devil's Lake. While they were loading him into the ambulance, the sheriff walked around the truck, shining his light. No coolant leak. No fuel gel. No accident. Just pulled over and quit, he said. Why'd he stop here? He might have seen something, I said. Or heard something. The sheriff looked at the field. Locals say this stretch will kill you faster than the others, he said quietly. Wind cuts through. We find stranded cars along here. Sometimes we find nobody. Just the car. I asked him something that had been bothering me. Didn't he call you? I said. No mayday? Number 911 from him? The sheriff shook his head. No call from him, he said. But we did get a call from a trucker about 20 minutes before you. Said there was a rig on the shoulder with a frozen driver. Caller dropped. We couldn't call back. Number showed as disconnected. I stared at him. I was the first one to call, I said. He looked at his pad. Your call came in at 4:18, he said. We had one at 3:57. Male voice. Said, my buddy's froze solid on too. Send someone. Don't let him sit like I did. Then the line cut. I felt that in my stomach. I asked, did he leave a name? The sheriff nodded. Said he was Ray. I looked at the ambulance. The dead man was already inside. After they left, I got back in my truck, cranked the heat, and sat there shaking. I looked over at my passenger seat. There was frost on the inside of my passenger window. Only on that window. A patch the size of a palm, like someone had leaned their cold face there to look out. I wiped it with my glove. For a second, before it smeared, I saw letters drawn in it, from the inside. COLD. I left. Now, every time I run Highway 2 in winter, I don't stop between Rugby and Minot, no matter what DOT says. And if I see a truck sitting there with no exhaust in the middle of a blizzard night, I call it in, but I do not go up to the glass. Not anymore. Because I don't know what was on that shoulder first that night. The cold, or him. The end. Last delivery before dawn. It happened in Ohio, on the industrial belt outside Toledo, near Rossford, in November 2021, a little before 5 in the morning. It was that dead hour when the highway is empty but factories start warming up. I was running a local night route, dry van, supposed to drop one last load to a warehouse I had never been to before. Dispatch sent the address around 3:30 a.m. and said, it's a rush, they're expecting you, then you can go home. I remember that line because later I called dispatch back and they said, we don't have that address in our system. The night was foggy. Not thick, but low, hanging over the fields, making the streetlights into blurry orange balls. The GPS took me off I-75 onto a smaller road that ran past old industrial buildings, some working, some dark. I passed 2 normal warehouses with trucks at the docks. Mine was supposed to be farther in, last building on the lane. That was in the message. I turned onto a narrow access road with cracked asphalt and weeds in the middle. My headlights hit a big brick warehouse with no sign, no company name, only a faded number over the dock doors. 4 bays. Chain link fence on the side. No trucks. No guard shack. But the roll-up door on Bay 3 was half open, as if someone was waiting. I checked the time, 4:46 a.m. I got on the radio to our night guy. Hey, I'm at the address you sent. Looks kind of dead. You sure they're open? No answer. Just voicemail. I pulled up anyway. The dock light inside was on, a yellow one, flickering. I could see movement deeper in, like a shadow crossing. So I figured, okay, maybe it's one of those old school places that doesn't bother with signs. I backed the trailer to the dock. When I felt the bump, I set the brake, hopped out, and went to the door to knock. The dock door slid up the rest of the way before I even touched it. A man stood there. Mid-50s, work jacket, knit cap, gloves. Looked like any warehouse night worker. He had a clipboard. You're late, he said, but not angry. Just stating it. I said, they hit me with it last minute. He nodded like he knew that story very well. Put her in Bay 3. We'll unload. You'll sign out. You can go, he said. I'm in 3, I said. He looked over my shoulder, saw the trailer, and said, good. We were waiting. I asked, what's the name of the place, so I can log it? He paused just a second too long. Receiving, he said. Just right, receiving. That was the first thing that bothered me. He walked inside without inviting me. I followed up the dock plate and into the warehouse. The air inside was cold and smelled like dust and old concrete. The kind of smell closed buildings get. My boots echoed. The dock lights were on, but only right over my trailer. The rest of the warehouse was dark, rows of racks disappearing into black. I did not hear any forklifts, no beeps, no music. Just a humming somewhere, like an old heater trying to work. 2 more men appeared from the dark, both in similar jackets, both with those knit caps pulled low. They did not talk to me. They went straight to the back of the trailer, dropped the locks, and rolled the door up. One of them looked at the pallets inside and said, quietly, "This is the same one." The other said, "Yeah. Again." I turned. "What do you mean again?" I said. "First time I'm bringing here." They both looked at me like I had said something stupid. "Back up your paperwork," the first one said. "We'll sign after." I handed the clipboard to the older guy. He flipped through and his eyes moved in a way I did not like. Like he was reading something else. "You were supposed to be here in 2019, he said, almost to himself. I laughed, thinking he was joking. "Yeah, I'm always late, 3 years, I said. He did not laugh. Outside, in my side mirror through the dock gap, I saw something strange. My trailer door was open, but inside, instead of the pallets I had picked up in Detroit, I saw shrink-wrapped boxes with my company logo and old date stamps. I blinked. I knew what I had. It was automotive parts, mid-size pallets, yellow tags. In the trailer, under their light, it looked like mixed freight, even some broken-down crates. I climbed up on the dock to look in for myself. It was not the load I brought. I said, "Hey. This isn't my freight." The older guy didn't even look. "This is what you always bring," he said. "We've been trying to close this out." I said, firmer, "No. My load number is 5471. You got the wrong driver." He looked at the paper again. 5471, he said, and tapped the sheet. "Correct. You went missing on November 12, 2019. We kept the order open. We asked for a trace. They said the driver never arrived." The warehouse went very quiet. I heard it then. A distant rolling, but not from our dock. From deeper inside, like a pallet jack being pulled along concrete very slowly. I said, "It's 2021. He nodded. "Yeah," he said. "You made it this time." Something about the way he said this time made me feel like I was not awake. I pulled my phone to check. No service in the building. No bars. "Listen," I said, taking a step back toward the light. "I'm not unloading till I confirm with dispatch. This isn't right." He said, "Your dispatch doesn't answer. They never answer at this hour." My voicemail from earlier. The call that didn't go through. He had heard that? Then from the dark part of the warehouse, a woman's voice floated out, low and tired. "Are you finally signing that one? He keeps showing up." I turned quickly. Couldn't see her. Just racks. A red exit sign glowing way in the back. I said loud, "Who else is in here?" The older guy wrote something on my paperwork. I saw the date he wrote. November 12, 2019. I said, "That's not today." He said, "That's the date it belongs to." I felt a cold go through me, not from the temperature. I backed off the dock, down to the pavement. "I'm gonna pull out," I said. "We'll figure it out outside." I went to the driver's side to get in the cab. When I looked at my truck door, it was wet, like from old rain, and there was a paper stuck under the wiper. I pulled it. It was a scale ticket. From November 12, 2019. My truck number. My company. My name. I had never seen that ticket before. I got in the cab fast, slammed the door, and looked at my mirrors. Inside the dock, the men were still unloading. But now, behind them, I could see other trailers through the open inside bay. Older ones. Different company names, some long out of business. Their bay lights were on too, but no drivers. I put the truck in gear and tried to pull forward. The truck did not move. It felt like the dock plate was still latched, even though I had not released the brakes on the dock. I hit the air brake release for the trailer, checked it. Everything normal. But when I pressed the accelerator, the truck just tensed, like something held it from behind. Then the yellow dock light turned red. I grabbed the CB. Dispatch, this is 1347, I'm at unknown warehouse off 75, they got the wrong freight, doors locked, I can't move. Static. Then, through the speaker, but not from dispatch, a voice said, bored, like a clerk. Load 5471 delivered. Finally. I shut the CB off. I got out again, this time angry, storming toward the dock. Unhook me now, I said. I'm not yours. The older guy looked up, a little sad. You shouldn't have taken Miller Road, he said. We don't even show up on new maps. We only get the ones from that week. What week? I said. The week you disappeared, he said. I stopped talking. He sighed, turned, and hit a button on the wall. I heard the dock lock release with a bang. My trailer jumped. Go, then, he said. But you'll circle back if it's still open. I didn't wait. I climbed in, put it in low, eased forward. This time it moved. I pulled out of the dark dock into the foggy yard. When I looked in the mirror to see the building, it was still there. A brick warehouse, bay 3 door open, yellow light on. Nothing strange. I drove back to the main road, heart hammering. As soon as I hit the bigger street, my phone lit up with service. I called dispatch. Hey, about that 4 a.m. delivery near Rossford, I said fast. That place is creepy. They had the wrong freight. Don't send me there again. Dispatch said, what 4 a.m. delivery? Your board shows empty after Detroit. We didn't send you an extra drop. You texted me the address, I said. At 3:30. We didn't, she said. I can send you the log. She did. No 3:30 a.m. message. I pulled over under a gas station light and checked my phone again. The message with the address was gone. Later that day, I asked an older driver at the yard, you ever hear of a warehouse near Rossford, no name, brick, for bays, takes freight that's out of date? He stared at me a long time, then said, you got one of the November ones. What's that mean? I asked. Every few years, the route systems burp and send out an old order. Driver goes to a building that's not on the list anymore, he said. Way I heard it, in 2019 a guy got routed there and never made the delivery. Load stayed open. Sometimes it calls the nearest truck. I said, you mean like it resends? He said, I mean like it won't close until somebody signs. That night, when I went to fill out my paper logs, I checked my original BOL. Load number, 5471. But the receiver's signature line was filled in that same thin handwriting. Received November 12, 2019. I hadn't let anyone touch my paper. The end. The girl by the gas station. It happened in New Mexico, on US 54 between Tularosa and Alamogordo, in May 2020, just after 2 a.m. I was southbound, hauling produce, light enough that the truck felt fast on the desert highway. The night was dry, warm, and empty. No moon, just flat desert and those old wooden utility poles that disappear in the dark. I had planned to fuel in Alamogordo, but about 15 miles north of town I saw a small old gas station on the east side of the road, one of those forgotten ones with 2 pumps, a dark shop, and a flickering sign. Only the pump light was on. Everything else was dark. There was a girl standing under that light. I noticed her before I even pulled in, because she stood too close to the road, like she was trying to be seen. Thin, maybe 20, long black hair, wearing a blue zip-up jacket and dark jeans. She was hugging herself like she was cold, even though it was warm. No car. No bike. No bag. Nothing around her but the closed station and a payphone that probably had not worked since the 90s. I slowed, put on the right turn, and pulled into the gravel lot. My headlights washed over the pumps and over her. She didn't flinch. She just watched the truck come in, like she was relieved. I rolled down the passenger window. "You all right?" I called. She came closer, but not too close. Enough so I could see her face in the overhead pump light. Pale, tired, eyes red like she had been crying. She looked normal. Not ghostly. Just like a stranded kid. "I need to call my dad," she said. "My phone died. He's coming to get me." "Station's closed," I said. "Where's your car?" "It stopped," she said. "I left it. I didn't want to stand on the road. I came here. Can I use your phone? That road is long and dark. You don't leave people out there." I nodded. "Yeah. Climb up. I'll hand it to you." She shook her head. "No, you call," she said. "He doesn't answer unknown women." That was a strange way to say it. But I took out my phone. "What's the number?" She gave it without thinking, fast, like she had said it 1,000 times. I dialed. It rang. After 2 rings, an older male voice answered, groggy. "Yeah? Sir, I'm a truck driver on 54, north of Alamogordo. I've got a young woman here. She says she's your daughter. Stuck at the gas station." Silence. Then the man said, very slowly, like he was choosing each word, "What's she wearing?" "Blue jacket," I said. "Dark jeans." Another pause, longer. "Where exactly are you?" he said. "Old Chevron, I think." "Signs out." "Mile marker about 15 out." His voice changed. Went from sleepy to sharp. "Listen to me," he said. "Don't let her in your truck." I frowned. Turned to look at the girl. She was staring up at me, hopeful, like waiting for me to say Dad's coming. She was still hugging herself. "She said you were coming," I said. "You are Dad?" He exhaled, pained. "I'm her father," he said. "But my daughter's been missing since May 2018. She was last seen at that station. People call me sometimes. I can't stop them. Tell her to go home." I felt my mouth go dry. I turned back to the window. The girl was closer now, right under it, looking up. "Is he coming?" she asked. I covered the phone with my palm. "He says he's on the way," I lied. "What happened to your car?" She pointed north, toward the dark road. "It stopped," she repeated. "He worries. He waits by the window." The exact words the father had said, but from the daughter in the first story. The phrasing was wrong for her. It sounded memorized. I put the phone back to my ear. "He says you've called before?" I whispered. The father said, voice breaking, "I've had 7 truckers call me at night. 1 in 2019. 2 in 2020. They all describe her. Blue jacket. Same road. Same station. I drive out. There's no one. I put a cross there. She keeps going back." I looked out again. The girl was now looking past me, into the cab, like she was trying to see if I had anyone else with me. She said softly, "Can I just sit for a minute? Till he comes?" The father said in my ear, "If you let her in, she will leave something. A photo. A jacket. A wet seat. She doesn't mean to. But you'll carry her home and you won't make it." "What do I tell her?" I said. "Tell her it's late," he said. "Tell her I said go home." I swallowed. I leaned to the window. "Your dad says you should go home," I said. "He can't come." For the first time her face changed. Not angry. Disappointed. Like that wasn't the answer she wanted. "He doesn't like it when I walk," she said. He said not to walk at night. I said, yeah. He said that. She looked past me, at the road, at the fields. The pump light flickered. For a second, in the flicker, I could see right through her hair to the pump behind, like the edges of her were too thin. Then she said, very calmly, he still waits on the porch. And she turned away. She walked past the pumps, past the dark shop, toward the back of the station where the light didn't reach. I leaned out to watch. She didn't make footsteps in the gravel. When she reached the corner of the building, she didn't turn it. She just wasn't there anymore. I stayed there a moment, heartbeat loud, phone still to my ear. You still there? The father asked. Yeah, I said. She's gone. He exhaled, like he'd been holding that breath for 2 years. I went to that station the night she went missing, he said. Her car was a mile up, out of gas. Attendant said she used the phone. Said a truck was parked there. Driver said she was fine. We never found her. The station closed the year after. But she keeps calling for me. I'm sorry, I said. I didn't let her in. Thank you, he said quietly. You did the right thing. Then he said, almost in a whisper, she'll try again. She always tries truckers. You're the safest. You're the ones who stop. We hung up. I sat there in the idling truck, pump light buzzing, desert quiet pressing in. After a minute I climbed down to check the area. I walked around the station with my flashlight. Nothing. No footprints. No car. No girl. But when I came back to the front of my truck, something was on the passenger step. It was a folded newspaper clipping, old, edges yellow. I picked it up. It was from the local paper. Missing Alamogordo teen, last seen at roadside service station. Photo of the same girl in the blue jacket, younger, smiling, hair the same. Date, May 24th, 2018. I looked back at the pumps. Still empty. I got in the truck and drove the rest of the way to Alamogordo, hands tight on the wheel. At the truck stop I showed the clipping to the cashier and asked, you know this girl? She looked at it and nodded. Yeah, she said. That's the one people say they see north of town. My cousin saw her last year. Tried to give her a ride. His truck died. I kept the clipping. It was still damp, like it had been left in dew. Now, every time I pass that stretch at night, that pump light is off. Whole station dark. But sometimes, out of the corner of my eye, I see a shape by the road, hugging itself, waiting for a trucker who will call her dad and tell her to go home. The end. The convoy that wasn't there. It happened in Colorado, on US 50 westbound between Pueblo and Gunnison, in October 2022, a little after midnight. I was pulling a loaded refrigerated trailer up toward the mountains, slow, steady, engine humming low. The night was clear but moonless, the kind where the sky is just black glass and the only light is from your own truck. Traffic was almost zero. I passed a single car near Pueblo, then nothing for 40 minutes. That's why I remember it so clearly. I was completely alone when I started up the grade. At 12:23 a.m., just past mile marker 262, I checked my mirrors. There were 3 trucks behind me. I had not seen their headlights appear. I had not passed an on-ramp. 1 minute my mirrors were empty, the next minute there were 3 sets of lights, lined up perfect. All of them with that white-blue LED look, spaced exactly the same. No weaving. No change in distance. Like a military convoy. I got on the CB. Eastbound or westbound on 50, y'all got a 3-truck convoy behind 53-foot reefer? I said. Just want to see if you want around. No answer. I tried again. 3 back doors behind me, you hearing me? Silence. Just faint hiss. I looked again. Still there. First truck maybe 5 truck lengths behind me. Second the same distance behind him. Third the same. All with their marker lights on. All clean, like identical spec. I slowed 2 miles per hour to let them decide. Usually someone will say, "Come on down," or "I'll pass on the straight." Nothing. So I flipped to another channel. Still nothing. I thought, maybe it's some company running team trucks on a route, they're on a private channel. I let it go. I just kept climbing. We hit a right-hand curve cut into the side of the hill. Rock wall on the right, drop on the left, no shoulder. I watched the mirror to see them bend with me. They did. Perfectly. All three followed the curve like they were linked to my trailer. Their headlights moved in sync. No bounce. No lag. I said out loud, to no one, "Okay, that's weird." At 12:31 a.m. I crested a small rise and we hit a long, straight descent. Good visibility. If they wanted to pass, this was it. I clicked the mic. "Convoy behind me, I'll hug the right, you can come on." Silence. But in the mirror, I could see the first truck drift a little toward the center, like he was thinking about it, then come back, keeping distance. The second and third copied him exactly, like a reflection. Then I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. I could not make out any logos. No company name on the doors. No trailer markings. Just light. No color. Just the shape of trucks. Even in the mirror glare you can usually tell a Freightliner from a Pete. These looked like trucks made of light. But they cast headlight beams on the road behind me. That part was real. I got past a mile marker and decided to try a test. I hit my brake pedal just enough to flash my brake lights without slowing much. All three trucks flashed brakes at the same time. Drivers react at slightly different times. These didn't. These reacted like one driver controlling three. I said, louder now, "Who's running right on my tail on 50? You are too close for this road." Nothing. I was coming up on a wide pull-off lane used by trucks to let others pass. I thought, fine, I'll stop, let them by, and see who they are. I flicked my turn signal, eased into the pull-off, slowed to a roll, and watched the mirror. The three trucks did not pass. They slowed too. They pulled in behind me. No space. No change in gap. That was enough. I decided I was not staying on a dark mountain road with three silent trucks shadowing me. I rolled back out onto 50. They rolled out too. At 12:38 a.m., a voice finally came through the CB. Male, low, a little distorted, like from far away. 50 westbound, you got traffic behind? Yeah, I said fast. 3 rigs. You seeing them? Another pause. Then, negative. I'm eastbound. You're the only headlight I got. My mouth went dry. You sure? I said. I got 3 on me. Buddy, I'm looking right at your lane. It's empty behind you, he said. I can see far. You're alone. I glanced at the driver's side mirror again. They were still there. Then what the hell is that? I said. The other driver said, softer now, "Oh. You on 50 near 260? Between the rock cut and the river?" "Yeah." He said, "Then just keep going. Don't stop at the overlook." I looked ahead. In 5 miles there was an overlook turnout, high above the water, no rail in some spots. I had planned to stop there and do a quick check. Why not? I asked. Because that's where they went over, he said. 3 trucks. Winter 2015. Snowstorm. Leader missed the turn. Other 2 followed. No time to stop. They pulled them out in pieces. My cousin was on that recovery. I stared at the mirror. 3 trucks? I said. You sure? 3, he said. Everyone here knows. That stretch, you get 3 lights behind you, you don't mess around. They're just running the road they missed. My hands were sweating now on the wheel. As we got closer to the overlook, the road curved along a drop. My right side was rock. My left was open darkness. I could hear the river below, faint. The overlook itself was a flat dirt pad on the left, with old tire marks from people turning around. I signaled early to stay in the lane. I did not pull in. In the mirror, I saw the 3 trucks start to move left. Like they were going to take the turnout. But they did not slow. They just drifted left, smooth, all together, like a school of fish, and rolled through the turnout at highway speed. Then they went right off the edge. No sound. No crash. No dust. No lights tumbling. They just kept going forward into black air and were gone. My trailer rocked in the backdraft of nothing. I gripped the wheel and said, "Jesus." The other driver came back on. "You saw them, huh?" "Yeah," I said. "They just drove off." "That's how they do," he said. "Sometimes they line up on people. Mostly nights. Mostly when it's quiet. You're lucky you didn't stop. They'll follow too close and push you without touching you." I drove on, heart thumping, waiting to see headlights behind me again. Nothing. Just darkness, like normal. I made it to Gunnison around 2 a.m. and pulled into a lit truck stop. Inside, over coffee, I asked the cashier, "You ever hear about 3 trucks going over on 50? She looked up right away. "Yeah," she said. My uncle was with the fire crew. It was bad. All 3 just followed each other off. 2015, I think. Fog. They said the second and third never had a chance. They were riding too close. Do people still see them? I asked. She shrugged, but not like she didn't believe it. Drivers say they do, she said. Usually the ones who drive alone. Late. If you see them, you don't stop. That's what they say. When I went back out to my truck, I checked the back door, like I'd picked something up. Nothing. But on my dash, in the dust, were 3 long side-by-side streaks. Like 3 fingers or 3 beams had dragged across it at the same time. Now, if I run 50 at night and I see even one set of lights behind me that won't talk, I leave the radio on and I don't pull over on mountain turnouts. If they want to pass, they pass. If they don't, then maybe they were never there. The end. The tunnel with no exit. It happened in Pennsylvania, on Highway 322 between Phillipsburg and Clearfield, in February 2022, in the middle of a wet snow that wasn't sticking to the road but was sticking to everything else. It was about 2:25 a.m. I was eastbound, alone, pulling a half-full box trailer with paper rolls. The night was ugly, low clouds, wet flakes, fog clinging to the hills. I had run that stretch a lot. I knew the turns, I knew which gas stations were open, I knew there were no tunnels on that part. That is why what I drove through shouldn't have been there. I was listening to the weather on low and watching the temperature bounce around freezing. The road was glossy but not icy. Woods on both sides. Every now and then a mailbox. No cars behind me, no cars ahead. I passed mile marker 126. Then the fog got heavier, like I had driven into a pocket. Up ahead my headlights picked up something dark across the road. At first I thought it was a bridge overpass, but there are no overpasses there that low. Then I thought it was one of those short rock cuts with a concrete top. But as I got closer, I saw it was round and smooth, like a tunnel mouth. Yellow light inside. A big green sign on the right said Clearfield Tunnel, stay in lane. I slowed a little, more from surprise than anything. I got on the CB. Eastbound 322, anybody copy? You boys got a tunnel out here now? No answer. Just soft white noise. I looked in the mirror. Still no one. I figured, okay, maybe they opened some kind of temporary tunnel or I remembered the route wrong. Road work, detour, whatever. My GPS glitched for a second. The map froze. Then it showed me driving across nothing. I lined up and drove into the tunnel. Right away the sound changed. Tires on wet pavement became hollow, echoing. The light inside was that old sodium yellow, flickering every few fixtures. The walls were wet concrete, streaked and dark, like water had been seeping through for years. The ceiling was low, but enough for trucks. It looked old, not new. It looked used. I checked the dash clock, 2:27 a.m. The tunnel curved slightly right. I could not see the end. I kept it at 40. My engine sounded loud in there. My trailer rattled. About 20 seconds in, I passed a small pull-out with a red emergency phone box on the wall. On it, in black letters, it said, "Report accidents, stay in vehicle." I thought, that's odd. You don't see that exact wording much. I kept going. Another 30 seconds. Still tunnel. Still curve. Still no exit. I got on the CB again. Anybody in the Clearfield tunnel? You got eastbound heading through. Nothing. Then a new sound joined the echo of my own truck. Drip. 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 Water, hitting metal. But it wasn't hitting my truck. It was somewhere ahead, echoing backward. After about a minute, I started to get nervous. That tunnel was too long for that spot. I knew it. I had run this route the week before. No tunnel. I checked the dash clock again. 2:27 a.m. It hadn't changed. I tapped the plastic. I looked at my phone. 2:27 a.m. I kept driving. The tunnel walls did not change. Same stains. Same pipes. Same old emergency signs. I passed another pull-out. This one had a yellow sign that said, "Accident February 14th, 2014, too fatal. Do not stop." I felt cold go through the cab. I said out loud, "No." I pressed the accelerator a bit more. The truck sped up to 45. The tunnel swallowed the sound. After another 30 or 40 seconds, I saw flashing yellow ahead, like the exit was coming. I relaxed a little. Then I passed the same emergency phone I had seen before. "Report accidents, stay in vehicle." Same dent in the wall. Same water streak. I slowed again. I was looping. I checked the GPS. It now said, "Recalculating," and then no road. Just a gray background. I got on the CB harder this time. "Any unit on 322 East, this is truck 9083, I'm stuck in some tunnel that isn't on the map. You copy?" The speaker crackled. Then, faint, far away, like from the bottom of a well, a man's voice answered. "Don't stop," he said. "Don't get out." I grabbed the mic. "Who's this?" "Don't stop," he said again. I made that mistake. "Where's the exit?" I said. "How long is this?" Silence for a second. Then he said something that did not help. "It isn't," he said. "It's not long. It's just stuck." I felt the hair on my neck stand up. I said, "How do I get out?" "Drive past the place where I got out," he said. "You'll see my truck. Don't look inside." Then the radio went dead. I kept going. Another minute. Another curve. Same wet walls. Same lights. Same drip. The clock still said 2:27. Then, up ahead, in the yellow light, I saw it. A truck. Parked crooked in the right lane, hazards long dead, back end scraped. White tractor, old model. Trailer backed into the tunnel wall like it had fishtailed. No driver in sight. On the concrete next to it, a dark stain that could have been oil. Or not oil. As I got closer, I saw the name on the door. It was a regional company out of State College. I had seen their trucks. On the front windshield, spelling shaky, someone had written with a finger on the grime, "He got out." The cab door on the driver's side was open. Hanging. Like someone had indeed gotten out. I slowed to 30 to get around him. As I got even with the open door, cold air came off it. Colder than the tunnel. I heard something move inside. I did not look. I kept my eyes on the tunnel ahead and eased past. As soon as my trailer cleared that wrecked truck, the tunnel changed. The curve straightened. The walls were drier. The lights were whiter. And up ahead, finally, was a round white circle of real night. I almost cried from relief. I drove out of the tunnel and onto open highway again. Snow was still falling. Woods on both sides again. I looked in the mirror. There was no tunnel behind me. Just the wet black road I had been on before, shoulders, trees. No concrete mouth. No sign. I hit the brakes and pulled onto the shoulder, heart hammering. I checked the time. 2:34 a.m. 9 minutes had passed. I called PennDOT's 24-hour number from my phone and said, "Hey, this is a driver on 322 East between Phillipsburg and Clearfield. You all have a tunnel there now?" The woman said, "No, sir. Closest tunnel to you is on 322 near State College and that's still 25 miles away. Are you sure of your location?" I said, "I just drove through one. It said Clearfield Tunnel. Had old signs about a 2014 accident." She was quiet for a second. Then she said, "We had a fatality in a construction bore in 2014, but that was never open to traffic. That was workers. That's not on 322. Where exactly are you?" I looked around. I was by mile marker 129. "I'm at 129 now," I said. "There is no tunnel at 129, she said. "Do you need assistance?" "No," I said. "I'm out." That morning, when I got to Clearfield and parked at the truck stop, I went inside and asked 2 local guys at the counter, older ones, "You all ever hear of a tunnel where a trucker got out and never made it?" They looked at each other. One said, "You got the loop?" I said, "I guess." He nodded. "Yeah," he said. "Couple years back. Fog night. Driver called in, said he was in a tunnel that wasn't there. They found his truck stopped on 322 with the hazards on. Trailer scraped, like he hit a wall. Door open. No driver. They said he must have wandered into the woods in the snow. They never found him." "The radio?" I said. "He called?" "Yeah," the guy said. Kept saying, I got out, I got out." Then he was gone. I went back to my truck, sat in the cab, and looked over at the passenger seat. On the floor, near the pedals, was wet sand. Not road sand. The gritty, gray construction sand they use inside tunnels. I swept it out with my boot. Since that night, I don't trust sudden tunnels on routes I know by heart. If the GPS freezes and a structure I don't remember appears in fog, I slow, I watch the clock, and I keep driving till I see real night again. And I don't stop. Because whatever was in that parked truck, waiting with the door open, wanted someone else to get out so the tunnel could stay full. The end. Dead air. It happened in Missouri, on I-44 between Springfield and Rolla, in April 2021, a little after 3 a.m. I was running night freight eastbound, alone in the cab, light rain on the windshield, wipers on low. It was one of those mild spring nights when the fog sits in the low spots and the rest of the highway is clear. Traffic was almost dead. A couple of cars every 20 minutes. No other trucks in sight. I had the radio on low just to keep myself awake, but the FM was fading in and out, so I turned it off. After an hour of silence I started humming to stay awake. It was an old country song my dad used to play. I didn't remember all the words, so I made some up. I sang the first verse, sort of quietly, not full volume, just enough so I wouldn't drift. I even laughed at myself because I was off key. Then I stopped. Cab went quiet again. Engine hum, tire noise, faint rain. About 3 minutes later, the song came on again. My song. Same wrong melody, same messed up line I had just made up. But this time it was coming out of my dash. At first I thought I had hit a preset and some late-night station was playing a cover, but it wasn't a band. It was me. I could hear my own voice, thin and sleepy, with the same little laugh in the middle. It was like someone had recorded me and was now playing it back through the speakers. I looked at the radio. It was off. No display. No station. Just black. The speakers kept playing. And I'll meet you down the line, my own voice sang, even though that wasn't the right lyric. Then the recording stopped. A second of hiss. Then nothing. I reached over and banged the radio with my palm. Come on, I said to it, like it was a person. Nothing else played. I shrugged it off. I told myself the Bluetooth had glitched and pulled some old voice memo from my phone. But my phone was on the mount, screen off, and Bluetooth was disabled because I was saving battery. I kept driving. About 5 miles later I hit one of those low fog patches. The world went white for a second, then I popped out. As I did, the speakers hissed again. This time it wasn't the song. It was me, saying exactly what I had said 30 seconds before. Come on. The same tone, same annoyance. Then silence. I stared at the dash. I said, loudly now, who's playing with my radio? The speakers answered with static, then, faintly, a man's voice, like from far away, underwater. I heard you, it said. You're up late too. I grabbed the CB. Breaker 19, anyone on 44 eastbound near 110 Mile? You keen over people's cabs? No answer. I checked both mirrors. Still no trucks. Just dark highway and an empty exit ramp going to a closed way station. Seriously, I said, half laughing now, half nervous, nice trick. The speakers hissed again. This time it played back what I had just said, but with something extra behind it. Seriously, nice trick, my voice said. Then, behind my voice, maybe half a second late, another male voice repeated, nice trick. Not me. Lower. I turned the radio on and off 3 times. I even pulled the volume knob off and reset it. Didn't matter. Whatever was coming through wasn't coming through the regular radio circuit. I decided to test it. I cleared my throat and said, red truck, blue trailer. 20 seconds later, it came back through the speakers. Red truck, blue trailer. Then the other voice, lower, echoing me. Blue trailer. I slowed to 55. I did not like this. Okay, I said. How are you doing that? The answer came right away this time, no delay, no static. Same way you did, the voice said. I talked. It stayed. I got chills. What do you mean? I said. You talk out here at night, the voice said, and sometimes it doesn't leave. It just sits in the line and waits for someone to play it. I said, what line? The dead one, he said. The one after they stop listening. I felt the temperature in the cab drop a little. I reached down and turned the heater up even though it wasn't cold outside. Who are you? I asked. Name was Bobby, he said. Ran this road. April 2019. Wreck at mile 112. Couldn't get through. Called and called. Nobody heard. So I'm still on. My stomach tightened. Wreck? I said. I don't see anything. Not tonight, he said. That was my night. Yours is clear. Lucky you. I glanced at the mile markers. I was coming up on 112. I said, what happened? Trailer sway, he said. Rain on bridge. Car cut in. I jackknife it. Tipped. Tanker behind couldn't stop. I called. I called my wife. I called company. I called anyone. You know what I heard? What? I said, even though I already knew. I heard myself, he said. Same as you. Playing back. I knew I was stuck. I didn't like that at all. I said, "You messing with other drivers?" He almost laughed. It came through the speaker as a crackle. "Just keeping them awake," he said. "Just letting them know it's thin out here. You sing bad, by the way." "That was the point," I said. My mouth was dry. Then I tested him. "What am I doing right now?" I said. He said, without pausing, right hand on the top of the wheel, left hand on the mic, eyes on the right, looking for the exit you think is coming up. "It's not your exit." That was exactly what I was doing. I said, "Where are you?" "Back there," he said. Still. I checked the mirror. I saw nothing but wet pavement in my taillights. No wreck. No truck with hazards. Just highway. At 3:07 a.m., just before I hit a small overpass, the speakers popped again. This time it wasn't him. It was a different man, panicked, yelling, "I can't stop, I can't stop, I can't." Then it cut. Then hiss. Then my own voice singing again from 20 minutes before. Then dead. I said, "How many are on there?" "A few," he said. "Nights long. People talk. People call. Some of them don't make it off the road. What they said stays. People like you drive through and wake it up." "Can I turn it off?" I said. "You can shut your radio," he said. "Won't change it. You're in it now." I reached up and physically unplugged the power to the stereo. The cab went quiet. For about 10 seconds. Then, from the little tweeter on the driver's side door, where there should have been nothing, came a whisper. "Red truck, blue trailer." I swore. At 3:12 a.m. I passed mile 112. I slowed to 45 and put my hazards on, looking for some scarring on the guardrail or black marks on the pavement. I saw it. On the right side, just after the bridge, in the grass, was a faint, old track where something big had gone through the ditch and taken out a small sign. The sign had a newer post. At the base of it, someone had stuck a small wooden cross with a name burned into it. Bobby. I pulled onto the shoulder 50 yards past it. I left the engine running. I sat there listening. The speakers were quiet. Then, from far back, like from a mile of copper wire, I heard again. "Dispatch, this is Bobby on 44 East, mile 112, I need." Then his own voice played it back, overlapping. "I need." Then nothing. I picked up my phone. I called the number my company keeps for highway patrol info and asked, "You all have a fatal on I-44 East mile 112, 2019? Truck?" The lady on the line typed for a second. "Yes," she said. "April 16, 2019. Tractor trailer involved with secondary vehicle. Driver deceased at scene." "Why?" "No reason," I said. "Just past the marker." When I hung up and looked at the passenger seat, there was a small ring of fog right above it, like someone had breathed there. On the dash, my radio display, though unplugged, flashed one word like a glitch. "Replay." Then it went dark again. I plugged the radio back in, turned it to loud country, real signal, real music, human DJs. That seemed to drown it. For the rest of the run I didn't talk, didn't sing, didn't even clear my throat. I just drove. Now, when I run that stretch at night, I don't talk to myself. I don't sing. I don't call home on speaker. I keep the line empty. Because out there, past midnight, some lanes don't stay empty. They record. And if you talk to whatever is still trying to finish its call, it will start playing you too. The end.